Hello, my name is John Lewis, and this is episode 6 of the Autism Athletic podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me. It's a friend of mine, football, and has coached at many different places. And before we get started, he's going to tell us where all he's played at and coached at. So first, we'll start with your playing.
It's good to be here. I've watched the podcast. It's all the first one they did with Bryce. Did a great job. I've been waiting to get on, and we've tried a couple of times to hook up, so I appreciate you having me in. Just talk a little bit about, my career. Like I told you, I grew up in Tennessee, football, basketball, baseball, and probably was a better baseball player as a young kid. Wasn't very good at football. And then as high school came and things developed, I started playing quarterback and got a little better and was fortunate enough to go to college and played at Middle Tennessee State. Finished playing there in 1990, and I was the graduate assistant coach for 2 years. Did running backs. And, we talked about it a little bit. Didn't really enjoy it. The hours were terrible. Just the way you're treated by the other coaches and things. I just didn't have a very good experience, and didn't think I wanted to be a coach. But student taught my last semester at liquor school. And had a blast. Loved the kids, loved working with them, doing things. Knew I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. My first goal was to move to Florida, go to beach school, beach elementary school, and live somewhere in Clearwater, Bradenton, Sarasota, somewhere like that, Destin. And of course, none of that worked out. Long story short, guy I went to high school with called. He had moved to Baton Rouge, been there a year. They needed a quarterback coach. I said, sure. I went to move to Baton Rouge. My wife and I, we were dating at the time. I had to get married, so we got married, moved to Baton Rouge, and started our careers. And 6 months later, quarterback coach, became offense coordinator. That coach left, actually came to Cobb County, went to Harrison. And I became the head coach, stayed there for 5 more years. And we moved from there to Tennessee. I was the head coach there for 2 years in Idaho High School. Moved from there to Camp here in Cobb County. And was assistant there for 2 years with the same guy that brought me to Baton Rouge. And then he left, opened up Kell High School, coaching Campbell. Had some good years there. Was fortunate. Mr. Boland he had been the principal at Campbell before. He knew people I worked for. Was fortunate enough to get the Hillgrove done. And so spent the next 14 years at Hillgrove. From 2006 right at 2020. Then I moved down to South Florida for 2 years to Worth County. And then the previous 2 years we've been here at Osborne High School.
That's awesome. So, I know you had connections to schools, but was there anything else that drew you to these schools?
The first job was you got to have a job. You're done with college. A friend of mine, we didn't think anything about picking up, moving to Baton Rouge, and it was great. Still keep in touch with kids I coached way back then. It was 1993 to 98 when I was there. The job in Tennessee, I was probably 15 minutes from my family. My wife wanted to be in Georgia. We stayed a couple of years, and we decided to move to Georgia. Back in, it was, moving with somebody I knew, which was my high school buddy. And typically in ball, you go, you know somebody, you know them personally, or they're a friend of a friend. It's a very much who you know business and those kind of things. And then what you do when you get there is what keeps you. And those are the things you got. And then Campbell, had a good 6 years there, enjoyed it. But at that point, it became, Hillgrove was such another opportunity that could be bigger than Campbell, better than Campbell, could really advance your career. And then when I settled in at Hillgrove, you knew this is a great place to raise a family. My kids were 5th grade, 1st grade when we took the job. They both graduated from Hillgrove. My wife ended up teaching and coaching at Hillgrove. So it was really a family event for us. And a great place to be, great people. That was a really, really good 14 years of my life. And then just needing change, wanted to go back to something small. Really wanted to go somewhere that wasn't very good, try to help them out, try to do, see if you could get things going. And of course, COVID hit. Being a new coach somewhere and COVID hitting, especially in the rural southwest Georgia, was difficult. It's hard on the kids, the families there. It was difficult on us. And I know the guy that followed me had a hard time in Hill Grove, and COVID had a lot of the do with us. And then we just decided, hey, we miss Scott County and miss our friends, miss people. We came back, and of course I go to Osborne. Would have never thought I'd coach at Osborne. Never wanted to be at Osborne, but I wanted to help Coach Salon. It was 2 magnificent years, very rewarding. He did a fantastic job. Nobody's ever gone in there and won. Nobody's gone to the playoffs. He did that. The kids were very loyal. Still see them today because my wife's still coaching track there, and they're excited to see you. It was a good bond. So I've been very blessed where I've been, who I've been around, the jobs I've had, the people I've got to work with, the players I've got to coach. It's been a real blessing. It's been 31 years now I've been coaching. A lot of people, a lot of things.
My next question is, we'll start with, what was it like coaching?
Not very difficult. Something you look forward to, something you were excited about, and other people couldn't let you enjoy it. Guys that coach their sons, after doing it, you feel for him because it's a no-win situation. He's only playing because you're the coach. He wouldn't be playing if you weren't there. And just the things people say, and it makes it where you're on edge. My wife was on edge. And it was hard to enjoy. But those times with him were fantastic. His senior year was incredible. He had some injuries his junior year, didn't play a whole lot. And then he was surrounded with a bunch of really good players. Sophomore got to play due to some injury thing. It turned out good. But it was overall very fun, but also very frustrating, very difficult, very hard to do. I would have rather just sat back and watched him play, be caught in some of the stuff, not on his part.
Yeah, so I was manager of the football team starting in 2015, so I didn't really get to see him play much, but I've seen a little bit of him, and I've often regarded him as maybe the best over. And the few times I got to watch him play, it's fun to watch.
He had Omar Black, Denton, Zach Katz, Cameron KC was in the slot. But that was it the year before. That wasn't his senior year. Vanville played. Richard Coleman was playing. We were really talented. Carter Bagley was running back. Talent-wise, offensively, we were really, really good. And what was neat was he got it. He was smart. He could distribute. He wasn't this fantastic athlete. He went guys with people, but he could get balls to people. He knew what I was thinking. He got done what needed to be done. The communication was easy. He ended up, I think, throwing 42 touchdowns senior, which is incredible. I think 7 in one game, Campbell game. But it was, you got to have good dudes around you. He did. A lot of those guys went on to play college ball and had fantastic careers. But that was fun. It really was. And talking to other coaches and then bragging about your son playing and those things, it always makes you feel. There's very fun.
And then this one's kind of a fun question, but is there any moment where you just lost it with somebody, whether it's a player or you don't have to do much?
No, there's times.
I know.
I'm very, very competitive. So, I'm pretty laid back and I'm pretty calm about most things. But when it's time to compete, I want to win. Sometimes you don't feel like other people have that same desire to win or effort to win. It's frustrating. You get mad, you get angry. There was definitely times with refs that, you would get mad. I don't remember specifics, but there was times that I should have been mad that I didn't because I knew people would be watching and didn't want to show you tail. You know, Big Keisha when we score and we don't get a score, or Matthew McCravey dives in. You know, but I wasn't mad. I was in disbelief. I had a lot of reason to be mad. There was other times I got mad over stupid stuff that, you know, you're just being mad. But you try to keep a calm demeanor for your kids, not show your butt because you're getting on the inside show. But yeah, you get mad. There's times you lose it with the coaches. There's times you lose it with the kids. But it will sometimes you always try to go back to that person and have a chat with them, talk with them. But when you're competing and you're playing to win and those kind of things and the things that are on the line with it, it's a fine line to walk, and it's an exhausting thing, and people don't get it. I remember having talks with Coach Salam about being a head coach. That's the thing. You kind of keep getting pushed away from having close relationships because you're the boss. You're the heavy. You gotta kick the kid off. You gotta discipline the coach. You gotta get on the parent. You know, you're always the bad guy. And half the parents hate you because their kids aren't playing, and some are for you. So, you know, it's just how you feel. And it's an exhausting profession from that standpoint. And I don't think people realize that. And it's like these last 3 years been a breath of fresh air. Just to step back, you know, when I was helping Coach Salam, I'm not under that stress of that's his problem. He's got to handle that. You know, those things, and just being able to coach kids and do things. Very many times, and I'm sure I can remember talking about my coaches about, and even high school, and we would imitate our coaches and make fun of our coach, you know, out of love, not out of, you know, because of the stuff that was funny to us. And I'm sure the kids and players would have more better stories for you. You know, Evan Ingram was a funny one. He had the Snickers commercial. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I never did.
You can Google Evan Ingram Snickers commercial. And it's basically what happened. We throw a backwards pass. Me and Evan know it's live, and South Cobb's there, and they can pick it up and run it. Evan actually goes out on the field, jumps on the ball, which you can't do, and he tells his version of the Snickers story. And it's pretty funny. You ought to Google it and watch it. But that's a time that, you know, you get. There was a few refs that probably cheat on pretty good.
Then I have another question. Before we go into the next segment about your specific coaching, I got one more question about like football. When you're coaching, especially if it's like a nationally televised game, you come to halftime. I know halftime's on like what 10, 15 minutes.
We're 15 minutes unless it's homecoming.
I know sometimes like a nationally televised game, they have a reporter that'll stop and ask you a question. And I know you're very respectful, but I know you're thinking, hey, I got to get to the locker room. I don't have to, like, does that bother you?
Not really, because for me, Coach Sean, Coach Riggins, and Coach Salam offensively, they got with their position kids. They were under the tent the whole game. Coach Sean and Coach Riggins really ran the tent, and they were making corrections. They were doing and made adjustments. They would come out and tell me, Coach, we need to start doing this, or we need to start doing that. And I trust them. It was good. Our communication was good. So what needs to be said inside, and our defensive guys, from Coach Mosley to Coach Nix to Coach Salam, they took care of it. I never missed it. That was their thing. We were always great on that side of the ball, and it's because I didn't mess with it. You know, and I would say Hillgrove from the start to finish really was known as a great defensive school. And, you know, you look at had 3 coordinators, and so I didn't have to wait. And those talks aren't very long. You watch it on TV, and you know it's frustrating. But even for those guys, you know, Nick Saban's getting aggravated, having to stop and talk. But his coordinators are doing the stuff, and the other people are doing it. So it's many people working the success of the whole thing.
All right. So now we will start. We're going to go into like your coaching and stuff. So my first question is, and it's actually a question I forgot to ask on my last episode, but when it comes to like your assistant coaches and stuff, how much of a say do you have, and who gets to be your assistant coach?
So we'll take Hillgrove. So Hillgrove opened. We had no coaches because nobody worked there. There was no kids. There was no anything. I got to hire an offensive line coach, And I'm thinking out of the PE department, I got to hire Coach